Okay, hello everyone. Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to the February Tech Forum. Obviously this is our regular opportunity to get together to learn about a new and interesting and exciting technical topic. Today we have a very special guest speaker, Bruno Bossola from Materion. He's going to be talking to us about kind of the software pipeline and the vulnerabilities that you may have there, because 95% of this code we actually execute on our systems we haven't written, and it's kind of diving into what the risk is there. So thank you. Please, round of applause for Bruno.
Thank you. So, sorry for, this is my super branded version, but we're not talking about, it's not a pitchy thing. I'm gonna be here to raise your awareness around the problem that exists. And because our company deal with that problem, we are kind of, kind of experts. You want to say that? Not that much, kind of, okay? About myself, I am a software developer like you. I've been writing code since 1988. I started with assembler and C, and then I moved to other languages like Java and C#, C++ first, all those things, JavaScript, and I'm still coding. So you can talk code about me, with me, and I've always been passionate about coding, and that's why I found a problem, I tried to solve it, and now, because I think I have a decent solution, I'm trying to, make a life out of it, but it's very early. Anyway, it's good. So, what we're gonna look at today, we're gonna look at this is the agenda, we're gonna look at some exploits that happened in reality, and then, where they come from, and have a quick look at a specific vulnerability, and then run an exploit live on some code that I have. That code is also on GitHub, and there's a blog post that explains how to use it if you want to use it. I'm not encouraging you to hack anybody, so please don't. It's for educational purposes only. And I was told that I have to say that. So I said that. And I mean it. Okay? Right, and then yesterday, in the last 2 days, I hacked something because I wasn't able to find a good Scala scanner, so I quickly built something inside our scanner to scan Scala projects, because I was told that some of you use Scala. So who's using Scala there? Here. All right. You don't have to be shy, because I use Scala. No. I was using Java. Oh. The old guys, sorry. No pun intended. But yeah, true. We are kind of one generation behind. The new generation are using modern languages like Scala. And, now, I just have one quick question time. So if you have time to get your phone out, or whatever you have, if you don't, that's not a problem. You can answer to this question, which is interesting to us. So what do you do to secure your software code base today? There is a closed questionnaire. Oh, nobody has the phone, that's fine. We could move on. And then the other one is, do you ever experience a hack? So anybody ever experienced a hack here? Oh, only the two of us. Oh my God.
Maybe I just know more about it.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, I did experience a hack live, and it was very painful, because you don't have any control what's going on. I mean, it's not like in the movie when you are on the other side. So I can tell you it's very bad. Anyway, move on. San Francisco Metropolitan Transport Agency is 2016, and this happens. So all the trains are blocked, and this message appears on the screens, which is a ransomware. So somebody managed to install a ransomware on all the systems of the MTA. So the good thing is that I have a weekend of free rides, but how did that happen? No? So, more details. 2000 system impact, weekend of free rides, we were in Bridgeford outside, something happened, reality is, somebody exploited an issue with Apache Commons Collection Library. So basically, they injected a crafted message, and that message, when it was deserialized, actually executed the exploit. And with the exploit, they took control of the machines, and they took over the whole network. This was a big thing, so big in Apache Collection. Apache Commons Collection is a very well-known library that everybody uses. Well, a lot of people use Guava, but your problem's also there, don't worry. So the problem was so big that Google stepped in and created a team of 50 employees to fix this problem across all the GitHub project that they did find. So it was called Operation Rosebud. It was really interesting. You can search on the internet, there is blog posts that talk about that and the effort that Google put, and that was a good thing. I mean, I don't particularly like Google. It's okay. Google is a nice company. It's a company. But yeah, that was good. That was a good effort. So it's Google giving back. It was amazing. So the important thing to note from here is that the attack was in 2016, but this vulnerability was known as of 2015. So 1 year before, this vulnerability was published. It was known. But still, the guys in San Francisco didn't fix it, and voila, they were hacked. Now, another one is, this is 2017, is the Canada Revenue Agency, like the HRMC of Canada. So basically, the whole site was put down. The Canada Revenue Agency didn't disclose any information about the hack, so they were very secretive. Actually, they said, oh, nothing happened. I mean, every time nothing happens. How is that possible? But anyway, nothing happened, if you believe so. There was a full shutdown of the website for 3 days. And that was another vulnerable component, which is Apache Struts 2. And Apache Struts 2 is a very old Java library, but massively used by old organizations. So they have that. And again, the hackers, well, crackers, I should say, were able to execute code through a crafted header. Do you know how that works? You have any experience with this? So it's very interesting because you send a header, okay? When you send a file, when you do a request to upload a file, you attach a header, and in this header you put a tiny bit of OGNL syntax, which is a syntax which is used by Struts to as a velocity, as a template syntax, like I don't know, you like velocity, like what's called the JavaScript one, when you have a template and you want to instantiate things in the template. So they just put a tiny bit of OGNL inside the header, and when the header was, so they sent a bad request, the header was printed by the log, the header was logged, and when it was logged, the OGNL was executed. And at that point, they got control of the server. I think it's amazing. And you can do it. So again, there's a multiple exploits of this one, is widely known. You can go and see one for you. But it's amazing. Just in the header, just like things in it, and magically. Now, Equifax. Do you know about this one? Yes, you were hacked. She was hacked. Oops, should say that. Oops. But I was hacked. My friend was hacked. So because Equifax is a big company that manage your credit ratings, and basically they know everything about you, and again it was the same of the Canada Revenue Agency. They didn't learn a lesson, so they were hacked in the same way. Again, crafted header during a wrong, an invalid upload request. That's how they execute the code here. And they ended up, taking 143 millions of records of the US population, 50 million UCAD, and again, the Canada guys, they're really lucky. Come on, poor guys. Social insurance number, birth dates, address, credit card, blah, blah, everything, no? And same thing, so the thing is that it happened after 2 months when the vulnerability was disclosed, and the hack was admitted after 2 months again. In the meantime, something happened, no? Like this, between the 2 months. Between the time that they saw the vulnerability and the time they declared to the papers, some selling happened. And some people were prosecuted, by the way. Hey. But not everything is bad here. So, so one should say, why are we using those external components like Struts, Apache Collection? Why we're using them? What's the purpose of those? So basically, because they help us to deliver code fast. You want to go to market early, and you don't want to rewrite things that already exist, like a JSON parser. Why you write a JSON parser? Just stupid. Logging, communication, web frameworks. Why rewrite them? They're already there. I just have to pull them in my project, and it will work. No? And also sometimes I need state-of-the-art algorithms that I'm not able to code myself. Sorry, I'm not a crypto expert. I wouldn't be able to write anything that's inside Bouncy Castle. So the thing is, 80% to 90%, sometimes 95% of the code that we ship is not our code. So all the effort and craft and your pull request, peer review, pair programming, testing on our code, and then that's 5%. 95% is libraries that we pull. So if you have your project and use some libraries like these ones, and then they use other libraries that are dependencies, and you end up in this situation where, oh, this has a vulnerability and this has 4. So this is how it happens. Nothing is wrong with your code, but you have vulnerability in all the components that your code is using. And this is the problem that I'm trying to explain you today. So, some example. Because yesterday I hacked the Scala support in my tool, so I checked some of the Scala framework because I knew you were using Scala. So I checked Scalatra and Lift. I don't know, not a lot of you like probably those two frameworks. They're kind of, I would say legacy, but not super new. But again, they're very widely used. And then of course the all-present Spring Boot. So Scalatra, I checked it yesterday, and oh, sorry. Anyway, we're back online. Hey, now Scalatra. Scalatra is a very common framework to do web application in Scala. And here you can see the report that we generated yesterday. So it's not like these are generated yesterday, literally at 23:43. And this is the master code in the GitHub repository. And you can see we have some kind of issues. So here we're using an old version of Jackson Databyte, exploitable. All these, oh my God. So they're all related to Jackson Databyte 293. They're also using 296 because it wasn't enough using a vulnerable version. They're using also another vulnerable version. So also 296 is vulnerable here in different fashions. And then of course, they're also using Wava 23, which is also vulnerable. Then I use Jetty 946 that I think is end of life, by the way. And I don't know, oh my God, this is so bad. I don't know, let's move on. And then you can see there are a lot of upgrades that they can do. And I don't know, licenses wise, they didn't check, but licenses look okay. Oh, they don't declare licenses, but it's fine. But the problem is that this version of Scalatra, the latest that we discovered, that we downloaded yesterday, it already has components embedded in it that have vulnerabilities inside. Okay? And the same applies to, what was the last one? The same applies to Lift. So Lift, I think Lift was slightly better. But hey, I don't know. Let's see Lift. How does it look? So Lift, well, it's talking about the devil. It's using Commons file upload. That's so bad. HTTP client 3.1. No, it's not bad. Sorry, it's not good. So it has at least 3-4 vulnerable components. So, and this is the latest version. So if you're using Lift in your web application, you are exposing yourself to these vulnerable attack surfaces. So you have to be very careful to what you do with your code when you embed an open source component. Okay? And then Spring Boot is another sorry example. I mean, I use Spring Boot, but I patched everything myself. I don't have it here, but probably online, it's online. I patch everything myself. And you can think, and we saw a lot of Jackson Databyte, and we're going to see a lot of Jackson Databyte here, and you may think, well, I'm not using Jackson Databyte. But maybe you are. You're using some binding that then use Jackson Databyte. It's not about the libraries that you directly use is that the library that your library, the another library is using is a chain. So you may end up using JSON data bind anyway, even if you don't know it. Anyway, this is Spring Boot. Again, Guava, three versions of Guava, amazing, because they have different components. Okay, we don't go through, but it's a sorry mess also, this one. You have to patch it yourself, that's what we do. But anyway, going back to the presentation. So we skipped the questions, but I was going to ask you, is anybody of you securing your open source components? Well, you should think about it. And there are different techniques to do that. So I'm not here to sell my product. There are open source solutions that do that for you. So absolutely. And we will show one of them. But you have to think about it. Now, let's do the live exploit. This is about exploiting CVE 2017-7525, which is a remote code execution. No? So sending a message, a normal text message to a server, I am able to get execution on the server itself. Okay? And I can execute whatever I want. It's magic. This is a real library. This is JSON data bind that, again, you may use in your Scala project. It's very common. There is two wrappers for Scala to use this. And it's used to translate JSON XML to Java bytecode, basically. So we're going to use JSON data bind. We're going to use, and we're going to use also Xalan. Xalan is, what is Xalan? Well, Xalan is incorporated in the JDK. So even if you don't want it, you have it. And, and this particular exploit that I'm going to use, it has been solved in JDK 8 U46. So if you're using JDK 8 U45, you don't even need Xalan. It's there for me to use it and exploit you. Now, let's look at the code first. So the code is extremely simple. Unfortunately, it is Java because I didn't have... Oh, you don't want to see this one. You spoiled the surprise here. It's my exploit. Anyway, let's look at the code. The code is very simple, and it's Java, but it's very simple. So I know it will look horrible to you, but just bear with me. So we have a simple server that exposes the concept of a product catalog. So it has this, it runs on HTTP and exports this products endpoint. Basically, it goes on the product database and lists all the products and return a JSON version of that. So you can go get products and you get a JSON list of products, okay? And then of course you have the possibility to add the products. So we support also a post on the send endpoint on products, and we can add the product to the endpoint. The classes are very, very simple. I mean, the database is an hash map, is a map. This is my database. Wait, I think I'm going to show you that. Oh my God, the database. This is my database. It's basically a map with a key and a value, and the key is, I mean, it's even just a map, not even a hash map. I have a map with a key with the name of the product, but yeah, an ID, generated ID. But it's very, very simple. It has update, add. It's just a glorified hash map, really. Nothing wrong in here, nothing bad. And then we have the product object, which is, well, is just a value object, which does nothing. So that's all the code that I have here. That's it. And this is exploitable. So let me show you how it works. So let me run the server first. It's not already running. It's not running. Probably killed it. Okay. I'm gonna run the server. Yeah, proceed. I don't care. What? Oh, oops. Main is still useful to have a main, eh? Kind of helps. Now, this is pretty Spark. I'm using a framework called Spark Java, which doesn't have any vulnerability in this version. It's very fast. It starts right away, and it's very good. It's not Spark, Hadoop Spark. It's Spark Java, another thing. So now it's listening on this port, and I can pull my curls here, Are you familiar with a curl? Yeah? Because, I mean, it's just a very common way to talk to an HTTP server doing curls. So what I'm gonna do here, I have a list curl already prepared. One that I prepared earlier, sorry. Maybe I can do this and slightly more this here. Here we go. Oh, too much. It's just Linux that tries to be too smart. You're not that smart. You're still a computer. Okay, I'll leave it. Okay, so this is a call to the list. As you can see, it's just a curl. It goes to 88888/products. And this is, I show the headers, just to be clear. And what we get back is a nice JSON representation of whatever products we have currently in the database. So I can get this. Oops, I can get this. And I can show you in a, I can use, I don't know, a nice, oops, sorry. No, I didn't want to move that. I wanted to open a new window here. And here I can do online JSON parser. This is my favorite one. It's just this more. So this is what we have inside, basically. It's all fruit in the database. It's all fruit from Italy, because the fruit here is not real fruit. So you have demo fruits here, like but it is not real fruit. So we have apple, and we have an orange, and we have a key. I mean, an apple. You have apple like this. Yeah, what is this, an apple? Sorry. Whatever. I'm trying to be a British citizen. I'm applying for citizenship, so I should be used to it, right? Anyway, this is what we get from here. And we can also add a product to this thing. So we can call the add method with a curl again, which I already prepared. Let's reset. And this is add a melon. And of course, it's a real melon from Italy. And we get back the description of the melon. And if I now ask the list, you will have a melon in it. This is how easy this thing is. And I can guarantee you that there is nothing in the code that is potentially hackable at this stage. But what can I do? Well, I can run my exploit, sending a crafted message, and this happens. So keep an eye on the server here. Here we go. So what happened? That was me executing code on the server. So how did I do that? How does that happen? In reality, it's not that complicated. So you have to just study a bit. But it's not complicated, because if you look at the code, so let me show, the exploit you already showed before. The exploit is very easy. It's just a class. It's just a class that prints this on the server console. Okay? And it's a class that extends the Xalan abstract translate. So Xalan has the ability to deserialize classes from XML in the form of bin hex bytecode, and then instantiate it and bring them to life. So I'm using this as a vector to attack the server. So I'm sending a class that mimics to be an abstract translate. So a Xalan class that contains bytecode. And what I do in my message, then I leverage an ability in Jackson databind, which is Jackson databind. If it's configured with the thing called polymorphic translation, polymorphic something. I don't remember the full name. So it has the ability to create class on the fly basing their names. So what I'm doing here is I'm sending what is called a fake apple, and in the data, instead of adding the real data like the color, the name, or the description, I'm adding an object. So I'm telling Jackson, oh, this is what you should deserialize to, and this is the bytecode, right? So I just embed the bytecode here. And to produce the bytecode is very easy. I have also the producer here, somewhere, I'm sure. So I can get any class, and we can do this, for example. We can do no, big. So, and I have this encoder here, which basically, very simple, read the class, read into a string, base64 encoded, and give me the encoded version of this class, whatever class I want. And I'm pointing now to my exploit class. So I run it, I generate the bytecode, here we go. Oops. Copy, put it in my exploit.json. Alright, let's change this to the new one. Is it all? Yes. Then let's go back on the server. So I just changed my exploit to something else. I mean, I could do a query on a database, IRM -rf star. I'm not gonna do these things, of course, but just to explain where I am. So let's put on the server and now clean up, rise, clean up, and now if I run my exploit, oh, I copied wrongly. I copied wrongly. Right, sorry. Let me do it again. Code. Because it's very tricky. You have to copy exactly this, and sometimes you don't copy all the thing. A3. This is quite long. A3. Okay. Copy. It wasn't ending by A3. I was sending the wrong thing. All right. Now, play it again. There we go. My exploit is there. So I can create any class. I can execute on your server anything. I can get your configuration database, query the database, anything. I can use JDBC here, whatever the heck I want, I can do it. And I'm running within your server, so I can access your database, your queues, your files, everything, literally everything, because I'm running within your data, within your server. And of course, I can run shell commands and do anything else. If you're so naive to run your server as root or as a privileged user, I can probably do more harm and get into your network and have fun. I'm not gonna do it. But that's well, no, I never do it. I never did it. I have to say that. Anyway, this was the exploit. So you can see it's very simple. So how do you avoid having these things? What we suggest is to introduce in your CI/CD a system that detects those things. And there are a lot of systems that are able to detect vulnerabilities in open source components. And one of course, it's us. So we are doing for a lot of languages. And now, I mean, after next week, also Scala, we hope. And but there are also other solutions. There are big commercial powerhouses like Black Duck and White Source. They do that for you. And there are also open source options like dependency check. And even GitHub is now doing that. Not very well at the moment. They're still not very good. But they're doing some of it. So you can see sometimes on your GitHub project an alert from GitHub that tells you, oh, you have vulnerable components. And they usually tells you to upgrade to the wrong version. So, well, upgrade to the latest just in case. So don't listen too much to them. But upgrade to the latest. So you have to have one of those things. And those things will detect the problem that you have. Because now if you use, for example, on the project that we just saw, no? If we use one of the scanners, yep. And I think I used dependency check before. Yes. So let me copy from here because the syntax is a little bit complicated and I don't remember it. I'm a certain age now. So here I'm using dependency check. The dependency check is from the OWASP community. You can download it and run it. So, and you can scan and well, I'm not going to be there. Okay, the problem with dependency check is that downloads the databases from the internet. It takes a while when it starts, and I didn't do it before. But I think I have a previous execution. Yes, I have it. No, a dependency check report HTML. Oh. Chromium, what's the name? I don't remember. Let's open it. They change the name of the tool every time. So annoying. Nope. Home. Please disregard the weird things that you can find here. You never know. I mean, sometimes. Okay, you don't want to know that. Anyway, this is the dependency check report, and you can see in dependency check you see the vulnerable components and whatever the problems they have is a big list, no? And it will tell you that you have problems basically, and you have to sort it out. So this is, for example, is as a vulnerability ED. There are open databases for the vulnerabilities, and this is, if you click on this, you can get more information. And we do exactly the same. So whenever we scan a project, it's a command line scanner, and it will run the project. We will run Maven, generate the dependency tree, and prepare of course phone. Let's try again. Prepare the dependency tree, send it to the server, and then the server will provide you with the similar report, and that's how it works really. What did you run? All right, yeah. We create these kind of scores that we found easier to understand, but I mean, having a 0 is pretty easy to understand. It's not good. So a red 0 is bad, 100 green is good. It's the same thing through our tools. So we show you the dependencies much more in the problems. Well, we find more problems in dependency check, but that's because our databases are more up to date. We are ingesting different sources. We provide the upgrade path for the components. As you can see here, this is the culprit, and you could upgrade it to 2.8.11.3 as a patch release. We also show the list of licenses. This could be interesting in terms if you're dealing with a legal team that wants to know about the licenses you're using. This is also very useful. But basically, apart from the precision that we are better than the open source tool, exactly the same thing. So what I want you to come out from this meeting is this knowledge that, this is another story, and this knowledge that open source components are good, are great things, but they may contain vulnerabilities, and those vulnerabilities can be exploited. So talking about Equifax, by the way, the one that have 150 million users leak, no senior Equifax executives were fired over the attack. None of them. The CEO, CSO, and CIO were all allowed to retire with multi-million-dollar golden parachutes. So there is a silver lining, being hacked. And there is more, because, that's what I told before, 3 senior executives of Equifax, including the company chief finance officer, sold almost $2 million worth of the company shares just days after they learned of the hack. And of course, before it was published to the public. You have to notice this. When there is a hack on Facebook, it always happens on Friday. You never notice that? It always happens on Friday. Why does it happen on Friday? Can you guess it? No? Another one? Yes, because the markets are closed. So, done. We did our business, and then we announced the vulnerability. Oh, we're so sorry. Markets are closed. Oops. But yeah, there is a silver lining. So, we already saw this. We can show you some Scala scanning, but it's kind of late. But it's pretty easy to scan anything, and we have. I think I tried. For example, we have. This is an example of Scala Play real world example app, which is I downloaded from the internet. When I was trying the Scala scanner, I got GitHub projects and tried to scan them, and one of them come out clean. Not because the Scala developers are particularly bad, are actually better usually than other developers, but the problem is that they don't look at this particular problem. So this one again 0, 100, 9, it's very bad. Also this one. Let me see what's inside. So we have is using H2 database, a version which is exploitable. Is using a version of Bouncy Castle which is exploitable, and again another piece of Bouncy Castle. So it's just that not enough people look at these things. And my takeaway from this is that every project uses open source components, and exploits for open source components are out there. So mine is out. There was none before mine. I pushed it out. So now it's there. But there are entire databases where you can buy exploits. You enter the name of the library, the version, some money, some bitcoins usually, and then you get the exploit. So it's that easy. And by the way, hackers are very sophisticated people. They are developers like us, sometimes better than us. So be prepared to be under an attack which is very, very focused and very effective. So the only solution that you have is put in place a prevention mechanism. That's what I encourage you to do. Anything you do, go for open source, go for a competitor, but put something. It's not difficult. It's just one line of code that you put inside your CI/CD, or a plugin that you put in Maven on SBT or Gradle, whatever you use, and it will stop you shipping software with no vulnerabilities. Now, if you want to look at public databases of vulnerability, those are 2 links. I'm gonna send the slides, of course. This is the code I used today, and there is also a WordPress blog. If you want to, it's explained much better probably than the way I explained it today, so you can read it. And this is the link to the dependency check, and this is the link to us. So what I suggest that you do is that you read the blog posts, have a look at the blog, see what you see. Also the Material blog post has a lot of good material about that. I plan to push Scala over the weekend in production. So if you want to try our tool over your project, you could do it on Monday, and it will be free. It's free for personal use, up one closed project, so you can do it. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to follow up at any point in time. But now, if you have any questions, now, pray to us. I already spoke too much.
Questions?
I bored them to death.
Any questions? We're going to use the mic because we've got people on the Hangout as well. So in terms of, does it actually scan the code locally and then send a report up, or does it actually kind of send any of the code up to your remote service?
Oh, talking about us? No, it just it sends. So it uses the tool that you're using. So if SBT, Maven, Gradle, it generates a dependency tree, which may or may not be a native function of the tool. When we have the tree, we compact it and we send the tree to the cloud. No code is transferred. The only situation when you transfer code would be when you use our badges, but it's only for open source. So you can have those badges in your project that tells you if your project is good. Like you ever saw these ones? Yeah. Activity. This is one of the guys that are using our product. I don't know about Fresco, but they're using our product. And those badges here, no. If you use those badges, that the code will be pulled from GitHub, but only if you use those. Otherwise, we will not touch your code. We just send the dependency tree.
And then does it actually detect what libraries are being loaded by executing the code and then kind of seeing what one is pulling in? Or does it actually kind of parse the code almost like off without executing it and extracting the various includes? Or
yeah, it doesn't execute the code. It asks basically the package manager, it asks the package manager, give me the list of the libraries that you're gonna pull to build this project. Then when we have the list of the libraries, then we're able to cross-check them with our database in the cloud. We're able to tell you, well, you have this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem. And those are all potential problems. I'm not saying that you're immediately exploitable if you have one vulnerable component. However, it's usually such an easy thing to fix it. Just go to the next patch release, you're done. So we just, to me, I'm kind of a security guy. To me, it would be unthinkable to not upgrade a patch release of a component just because I don't want to change one character in my file. It just doesn't add up.
Versus the risk.
Yeah, I mean, patch releases are super safe. So we're not talking about a major and a minor. Usually, when those vulnerabilities are discovered, a patch release come out. It may happen that you're using a library which is end of life, and then, yeah, that's slightly more problematic. But again, do you want to go live with that and risk to be hacked? And you won't have somebody that prints funny messages on your server. We will have something else.
Anything else?
Yeah, question! Fantastic, thank you.
So, is it working? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned for checking the dependencies in a project, there are open source tools and, closed source ones. Is it really a good idea to use a closed source ones? You mentioned that you upload the dependencies, information, the dependency tree, sort of to the cloud, either sort of people from your team or,
We are looking at them.
That's a possibility. If I'm the, next CEO of the Equifax or whatever, should I really trust closed source projects with this kind of thing?
Well, in that case, you would select an on-premises installation where you have everything running on your premises. But if you're using GitHub, I mean, sometimes I think about it because ourselves, to store our code, we're using Bitbucket. So all our code is on Bitbucket, and Bitbucket is doing those things, no? Exactly the things that we are doing. So sometimes I think, well, should I be worried? But to be honest, no, because I trust the guys. If I trust a place to hold my code, I implicitly trust them. But again, going to your question, on-premises installation, problem solved. And the problem with open source products that I saw so far is that none of them are good as the commercial options. So, for example, dependency check gets less vulnerabilities that we get, but also compared to white source less, and also it doesn't have the upgrade path. This thing is incredibly useful, to me at least. So to know where I can upgrade which library to which version, no. This is super useful. So I can tell, okay, Guava, I can move to that one or that one, no? And it's very, very useful for me. And it doesn't have this, which is also super useful for me. So understand which licenses am I using in my product, and which one doesn't have a license, which is a problem. I mean, if you don't declare a license, you are in this legal limbo. Which, I mean, of course, as a developer, who cares? but you are in a legal limbo because you don't declare a license, so there is some implicit going on, but can be challenged in court, there are precedents, so it's kind of complicated. So that's, things are missing from those tools. And there is a reason why commercial tools exist.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Going once?
Yay.
Well, thank you, Bruno. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time. Thanks for having us. I hope I give you some insights.
Thank you very much. So that was the Tech Forum. We don't have one booked for next month, so if you would like to speak, this is a very friendly, safe crowd to kind of get up in front of. We really like kind of hearing any technical stories, but also if you want to talk about your products, some cool stuff you've done, you'd be more than welcome to just give me a shout. Or if you have friends or colleagues out in the industry who kind of would be willing to kind of come in and speak to ITV as well, that would always be appreciated. Straight after this, we've got the first Common Platform show and tell. So if you're interested in the kind of the follow-up to the CPV2 workshops we did in the last Tech Forum, please stick around, and we're going to try a risky live demo, which definitely will go fine. I think Bruno's already kind of made the sacrifice to the demo gods. So,
Oops.
Yep, and then later on we've got the Tech Social, so we'll be over in the Eastern. We've got a table booked officially from 6, but I suspect some of us may be going over a little earlier than that. So please, one last round of applause for Bruno, and that's it. See you soon. Thank you.